has taken over. Let's go. It's Ferrall. Coast to coast. Steaks, chicks, stacks. You and I are going to make a lot of money. It's Ferrall, coast to coast.
Our boy Rich Sermonello of the Maxwell Minute and Maxwell Club announcing the NFL winners that they'll be honoring at next month's event. Here he is, Rich Sermonello.
Hey, Scotty, you and I are used to talking about college football. We'll do plenty of that in the upcoming weeks. But right now with the Super Bowl 58 in the books, I want to talk a little bit of NFL. We're less than a month away from our Maxwell Football Gala at the College Football Hall of Fame, and we just announced our NFL winners for 2023-24. First off, the Player of the Year, Burt Bell, 65th Burt Bell, goes to Lamar Jackson, quarterback of the Baltimore Ravens. It's interesting. If we go back to last spring, last summer, such a tumultuous offseason, the contract negotiations. Can this kid finish a full season healthy? And he winds up having, for the second time in his career, just a spectacular season. Over 3,000 yards through the air, over 800 yards on the ground, 5 rushing touchdowns. The first player in NFL history over 3,000 yards passing, over 800 yards rushing, twice in a career. So Lamar Jackson leading the Ravens to a number 1 seed. It's interesting. It's reminiscent of our College Player of the Year, Michael Penix. Not just a numbers guy, but somebody who elevated the organization that he's with. Now, listen, Lamar's got to improve. He's got to do more within that Todd Monken offense. We saw that in the AFC Championship game. So he's got to take the next step. But in terms of what he did on the field, especially down the stretch, Scott, you remember those big wins, big performances, still a lot left to do, but he is our Burt Bell Award winner for the Professional Player of the Year. Now, Coach of the Year, maybe a little bit controversial. If you watched what the NFL chose, Kevin Stefanski, great season with Cleveland. DeMeco Ryans, remarkable with Houston, rookie quarterback C.J. Stroud, but we decided to go with Dan Campbell of the Detroit Lions. And listen, I understand 8-2 to finish the previous season, a lot of expectations, but what MCDC has done in the Motor City, 12 regular season wins, 14 overall, 2 playoff wins, most in franchise history, first playoff victory in 30 years. I love what he has done in terms of just encapsulating the heart of that city. He is now intertwined with Detroit. It's interesting. I know you're a Steelers guy. I'm seeing shades of Bill Cowher, just that toughness, that demeanor, what he has brought to that organization. Love Dan Campbell. He is our Coach of the Year. And quickly, we're going to give a Legends Award this year to Warrick Dunn, former Tampa Bay Buccaneer, Atlanta Falcons running back. As good on the field as he is off, just a complete individual. So Warrick Dunn will be with us in Atlanta next month as well.
Yeah, I had Warrick Dunn on my show at the Super Bowl, and it was just really unnecessary. I refuse to acknowledge anyone that played at Florida State on this program. I think it was a mistake by those that were making decisions that day. And I told Warrick that I didn't like him at all when I met him. And I told him to go to hell. And I said, your NFL career was great, but you make me so sick with your college choice that I refuse to acknowledge your pro career. We welcome our radio affiliate, SiriusXM, channel 159, Sports Byline, and those affiliates on a pain-free Friday. Great to have you with us. All right, Carver High, Caitlin Clark. How about this chick?
Yes, Caitlin Clark, Scotty. Let's talk about what she did last night. How about setting the all-time NCAA women's scoring record? She only dropped 49 points last night, and she set the record in style. How about we get your girl Caitlin Clark out to the logo, Scotty, on Peacock, just hitting him from the middle of nowhere. Let's go.
Recovered by Gabby Marshall. Here comes Clark. How will she go for history? There it is! The all-time leading scorer in women's college basketball.
I got to tell you, I'll bet the guys at Iowa love the fact that no one gives a rat's ass about the men's program in Iowa City, and that the girls sell out every single game, and the fever that they got of fandom and the passion that the women's game brings to Iowa City at Carver Hawkeye Arena is really, it's embarrassing, because it's so fantastic that they put the men's program in the toilet and flush it down the drain. Like, the men's program doesn't even matter anymore. The women's team, because of this chick, has taken over Iowa City. And in fact, I'll say it, that poser-ass football team of theirs that can't win a bowl game to save their ass with their fancy defense and their boring-ass offense, they make the Steelers look exciting. Their offense is so bad. The only thing that matters in Iowa City is this chick, Caitlin Clark. I mean, I have never in my life seen anyone get more coverage than that girl got today on national television. I mean, they've been talking about her for 24 hours. You would have thought she was Jesus Christ. I mean, it was unbelievable, the coverage that she got. And I think she's the most amazing player I've ever seen. And I think she's going to light up the WNBA. And it makes no sense whatsoever for me to see her go back to Iowa for another year. She's done with that. She's too good for college basketball. She needs to be a pro now.
I agree, and I actually would even expand it further than Iowa City. She's obviously the biggest thing going on there. She's the biggest thing in college sports, period, right now, just bottom line. And that, listen, you saw the numbers go up last year for people watching the women's tournament with what she did getting Iowa to the finals. And listen, we love the men's tournament. We love March Madness. We love all that stuff. This girl has got serious juice, Scotty, and she can get Iowa back in that Final Four on the women's side. Look, and she can get a lot of attention. There
are teams that can beat them, and in the conference that have beaten them. They lose games. She's unstoppable, but they aren't. And I'll tell you what, that Dawn Staley down at South Carolina, they're undefeated. Yeah. They kick everyone's ass. They're not losing to Iowa. That team is so much better than Iowa. It's not even funny. Women's basketball, and I'll tell you another one that's hot, is this Paige Becker. She came back from that second knee injury, and UConn's for real again. I expect South Carolina and UConn automatic Final Four, and I do not guarantee Iowa anything. I think she'll put on a show at every game, but I've seen them lose games, so they're not as great as everybody thinks they are. They're really tough with her, but they're not the best team.
They're the third choice on the odds board right now, but I think a lot of that is also her. You're paying a tax because of her in terms of betting them to win the entire thing. They're probably not, like you said, the third best team in the country, but she's so good that's what, like, they were plus 850, and I think UConn was like 15-1 or 16-1 or something like that. South Carolina's even money, by the way. They're the
problem is that she's on an island on her own. She's the whole team. So these other teams are loaded 1 through 5, and then they got 2 other pieces on the bench. South Carolina and UConn are loaded deep. Iowa just has her. That's it. We will come back. I'll give you tonight's college basketball games and this weekend. Tons of great Saturday that we've got to look at.
Came back. They did have a couple of transfers here. The reality is UConn is every bit as talented and dangerous as they were 1 year ago.
If there's a guy, Joe Ranieri, that for one game could take a bunch of cast-offs and steal a game, his name's Eric Spoelstra.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
Team that has a great point guard, a great big that can block shots, a team that can play defense, and seniors that can put the ball in the hole, that's who you bet on. You don't bet on freshmen. You don't bet on teams that don't play defense. There you go.
I mean, you got to run the guy over to call a foul in a tie game in that kind of a spot. That was a bad job by those refs.
Ferrall Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
I'm sort of starting to figure out where these Canadian guys play well, bro. Not Hawaii, not California. Give me a Canadian in Ohio, Cam. Give me a Canadian in Michigan. Give me a Canadian at the Waste Management.
Good old Charlie Hoffman, the representative of Waste Management, played the best tournament of his life in 8 years and lost in a playoff to the Canadian. It turned out to be like a wicked tournament. Shout out to Nick Taylor, gave BC's finest.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Ferrall Coast to Coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from three on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live, prime time.
We got not one, but two coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
This
Late
sort of
Night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, Carver High, let's hit these college games tonight. There's a couple of good ones.
There is a couple of good ones tonight. Villanova is at Georgetown in Big East action. They, of course, are laying a number here on the road down in D.C. We have VCU visiting St. Louis tonight in the A-10. They are laying 4.5 on the road. We have Ohio and Toledo in the MAC late night Mountain West, a good one. New Mexico visiting the Aztecs, San Diego State. They are now -6.5 here tonight. Of course, there's also some mid-major action. There's some Ivy League games tonight, as you and Coach talked about. There's lots of MAC games, Metro Atlantic games, so plenty for you on a Friday.
Okay, first of all, Villanova is going to beat Georgetown's ass in D.C., VCU is going to go to St. Louis and win. That team is awful. That 9-win Billiken team is awful. I bet on Toledo this morning and laid 6, whatever it is now, 6.5. It's 5.5 now. I'm seeing it 5.5. And I also bet San Diego State, and I laid 6.5. And the reason I did it, Mike, is because they're undefeated at home. They are an entirely different team at the Dutch Oven, Viejo, than they are anywhere else. They are so hard to beat in that building. It's not even funny. And I know New Mexico's good. I know they won it in Nevada. I know it's a dangerous bet. I'm going to go for it. And I also have some other plays here if you want them. On FerrallOnTheBench.com, you can get all this action. But Columbia, I like 9.5 at home in New York City against an absolutely stank-ass Dartmouth team. They're going to win that game by 20. Siena and St. Peter's, I got over 125 and a hook at St. Peter's. Brown at Princeton, over 140 and a hook. And those are the extra college pieces that I got involved in today on top of the ones that we just did.
Yeah, I'm with you on San Diego State tonight. Very good at home. The way that they came back against Colorado State the other day, they didn't just come back against Colorado State getting down early. They smoked them in the second half. So we love when the Aztecs are at home. All right, Saturday, There's just tons of games here. Obviously, because it's tomorrow, now they're starting to get a couple of these lines up. But obviously, when we put this together this morning, the lines weren't out yet. Look at this slate. Texas Tech, Iowa State. Texas and Houston. Wisconsin going to Iowa. Tech and North Carolina. How about Marquette and UConn getting together? I see UConn minus the 7.5 at home. Kansas and Oklahoma. Kentucky and Auburn, among others, for Saturday, Scotty. What a slate.
Yeah, I think Kentucky's in trouble at the Neville against Auburn and Bruce Pearl. I think the Kansas-Oklahoma game's going to be good in Norman. Kansas is flat out better than Oklahoma. The game of the day is UConn and Marquette in Hartford. I think that's going to be an awesome basketball game. And, I don't like Texas at Houston. I think the Cougars will shut them down at the Fertitta. And I'll tell you what, Iowa State's going to win at the Hilton Coliseum against Texas Tech. Tech is good, but Iowa State, if you bet against them, you will lose money.
Early number 6.5 for Iowa State here tomorrow in that game against Texas Tech. So lots of games. Also, one last thing in college rack. The Maui will go back to Honolulu in November, Scotty. Of course, after the fires last year, UConn, North Carolina, Iowa State, Auburn, Dayton, Colorado, Memphis, and Michigan State. That is a hell of a field that they have at the Maui Invitational next year. Jeez.
Yeah, I actually was under the impression, I could be wrong, but that they're actually going to play that in Lahaina like they used to.
Oh, okay. There you go. You might be right about that. That's the article had kind of both things listed in there.
I could be wrong, but that's what I believe is happening. And I obviously could be wrong, but I think they're trying to have it in Lahaina, which is, as you know, was destroyed. And I got a lot of friends that live there on the island, and I'm hoping and praying for the best for everybody there across the board. All those that were affected by those horrific fires and winds and the destruction of that beautiful place, a historic place. Long before it was commercialized, it was one of the most historic places on the islands.
Couple NFL notes for you here. Jimmy Garoppolo suspended 2 games, violating the NFL PD policy, Scotty. Another guy with a lot of excuses, taking things that he didn't know had the PDs in them. We always get, when you get popped and you get caught, there's always an excuse. I took this medicine to help this, and I didn't know what was in it. But the Raiders are going to chop him anyway, Scotty. He's going to be out.
Carver High, I have been under a simple formula since you've known me, and it always works. You just admit that you did everything. I did everything and then some, and I am guilty of all charges. I have been accused of doing and using everything, and I did it. And I'll tell you another thing. Jimmy Garoppolo is finished. His career is over. It doesn't matter if he takes PEDs or steroids or hookers or porn stars. No one cares anymore at all, literally, about Jimmy Garoppolo. I mean, he is done. I encourage him to find better steroids to do, more synthetic, that are untraceable. There has to be a doctor out there that can jump the system. And I believe he's headed to the wrong doctors. He needs to find a better way to cheat because his career is over.
It certainly is. Chiefs cornerback L'Jarius Sneed says that the team doesn't have enough money for him and Chris Jones to continue on there. Of course, both looking to get paid. When you win Super Bowls, everybody has to get paid. Go ahead.
They're going to tag Jones and they're going to pay Sneed. They're both going to be on the Chiefs next year, and we'll be watching them in the Super Bowl in New Orleans, and I can't wait.
Most likely will be the outcome, yes, unfortunate as that is. We've been talking about the Genesis. Obviously, the big news there is that Tiger finished out with the illness.
Now, I just do not believe that.
Certainly looks like a back to us, but it's illness that they have listed as to why he withdrew.
Okay, now, let me just ask you. Would I today, with this horrific cough and cold, I have been coughing since this show started. The over-under was 79 coughs. I'm at $155 already. Would I have played golf today with a cough and cold in the sun at Riviera? Would I have played with the cough? I'm asking you.
We all would have. Yes, I believe you would have.
So
yes.
I don't believe for 1 minute, not one iota, that this guy had the sniffles and decided to walk off the golf course. He is quitting because his body is shot. and he can't swing a golf club anymore. His career is over. No one wants to talk about it because it's like the death of golf if Tiger Woods goes away. I said it before. I'll say it again. Get ready. You're going to be selling clothes now. That's what he's going to be doing. And he's going to be on the first tee at Augusta for the rest of his life, teeing off and then not playing.
The ceremonial first tee. Well, it's just you can't play 2 rounds, let alone 4. This is the second.
Got the sniffles, my ass. Who quits playing golf with the sniffles? I'd be over there shooting snot rockets in the rough. Like, give me a break.
That's why he put the hands on the head. He gave you the whole show. He gave you everything out there today.
Come
Tiger.
on, it's
Patrick
so
Cantlay,
over for him.
Is in the lead. He's 10 under. Cam Davis is 9 under. Double L, Luke List, and Jason Day are both in the clubhouse at 8 under. So is Mackenzie Hughes. How about that? Hoagie Sandwich, only 3 back. We have Hoagie Sandwich at 125-1, so we don't mind seeing him up there. We have Willie Z as well.
Matsuyama, they're all there.
Good leaderboard here. I am grinding out Justin Thomas, who I played in the 3-ball today, against Woods and Woodland. Woods is out, so I don't have to worry about him anymore. I need JT to make up a couple strokes here against Gary Woodland as we come down the stretch.
If the Glover doesn't fit, you must acquit.
Yes,
your boy, Lucas Glover.
Yes, one of the all-time greats. I have baseball for you and maybe NASCAR as well. The Daytona is on Sunday. Yes.
Caravan came back. They did have a couple of transfers here. The reality is UConn is every bit as talented and dangerous as they were 1 year ago.
If there's a guy, Joe Ranieri, that for one game could take a bunch of cast-offs and steal a game, his name's Eric Spoelstra.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
Team that has a great point guard, a great big that can block shots, a team that can play defense, and seniors that can put the ball in the hole. That's who you bet on. You don't bet on freshmen. You don't bet on teams that don't play defense. There you go.
I mean, you got to run the guy over to call a foul in a tie game in that kind of a spot. That was a bad job by those refs.
Ferrall Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
I'm sort of starting to figure out where these Canadian guys play well, bro. Not Hawaii, not California. Give me a Canadian in Ohio, Cam. Give me a Canadian in Michigan. Give me a Canadian at the Waste Management.
Good old Charlie Hoffman, the representative of Waste Management, played the best tournament of his life in the 8 years and lost in a playoff to the Canadian. It turned out to be like a wicked tournament. Shout out to Nick Taylor, gave BC's finest.
Sports Rage Late Night. Only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. Your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Ferrall Coast to Coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from 3 on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live, prime time.
We got not one, but two coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
This
Late
sort of
Night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Carver High just advised me in the break as he saw me having a shot of Dayquil, that I should finish the bottle off in one gigantic finishing move to suppress my cough for the remainder of this program. I only did the shot. He said he was massively disappointed in me, much more than Tiger Woods quitting at the Genesis.
I actually have a bigger problem with Justin Thomas basically playing this 10th hole like he's me at the Cape Cod Irish Open. I got no idea what this guy's doing right now out here. He just hit a ball about 4 feet into a bunker. He just looks completely lost.
He's going home.
He actually is, and he almost holed this too. He's going to get another bogey here. He's going to be +4. He's got no shot of making this cut. There's only 70 golfers in the field, and they're keeping 50 of them. And the great Justin Thomas, who's been hot the last few weeks, is going to be one of those guys who goes home. It's extremely unfortunate for me and my endeavors for the weekend. The Great American Race is this weekend as well. That'll get you revved up on Sunday, 2:30, I believe, East is when they'll start. The Daytona 500. Here we go. Let's see who we know on this list. Denny Hamlin, Brad Keselowski, Joey Logano, Ryan Blaney, Kyle Busch, Chase Elliott, Kyle Larson, Christopher Bell. I saw, who is this? Ricky Stenhouse Jr. at 35-1. Where's your boy? Marty Truex Jr. Here he is, 25-1 for Marty Truex Jr. this weekend at the Great American Race.
I will take a flyer on Marty Truex, as always, and I will add a piece on the one that everyone hates, Kyle Larson, who was thrown out of NASCAR for racist activity and then admitted back finally onto the racetrack. He's a great driver, and it's long odds for him, and he could win it.
He could win it, absolutely. Anybody out there this week could get it done. Should be fun. The Daytona 500 coming up on Sunday. All right,
you don't want to miss
baseball. You don't want to miss it. You'll be on during the beginning of it. I guess the first couple hundred left turns you'll have during in-game live with Ranieri on Sunday afternoon. So make sure you get involved with that, with the racing. You guys got to pick in before they start. Baseball's here, by the way. We haven't discussed this week. The pitchers and catchers are starting to arrive at their various locations, and it is time to return to a time-honored tradition here on Coast to Coast, and that is let's make fun of Aaron Boone at the podium. We did it all last year as the Yankees season was sinking. Well, Scotty, it's a new year for the Yankees and their manager. So, what is the focus for the Yankees after a miserable 2023? Here's Aaron Boone.
We're hell-bent on being a champion. And, we understand very well that last year was not anything anyone in this organization wants or demands or expects. And I would say we have poured into that from ownership to the front office to the coaches and staff, all the way to the players, that I do feel like we have prepared properly. We are ready to roll.
We're ready to roll.
But again, we got to show you. I'm gonna talk to you guys every single day, and anything I say now, next week, next month, into the season. We got to go prove it.
Yeah, and Joe Girardi's right upstairs on the Yes broadcast, ready to come down the elevator and take your job when you suck again. Let me throw an idea out at you, Mike.
Yeah.
The time-honored tradition of pitchers and catchers reporting first to spring training in the cactus and grapefruit leagues. I've never quite understood that, to be honest with you, because every single pitcher in Major League Baseball, their arm falls off by June. Yeah. Why do they go down early and start throwing gas every day and ramp up? And I think it's the dumbest thing I've ever seen. I think position players should be in camp. And I literally believe the last 2 weeks of the month that they're there is when pitchers should show up and start pitching. And I also believe they should barely pitch at all. I think the starting rotation guy should pitch no more than 5 days of spring training, because there isn't a guy in Major League Baseball that doesn't get injured that's a pitcher. I mean, even Cole said it. We all get injured as a whole like nothing I've ever seen. The entire Yankee organization was on the IL at the same time last year. They get more injured than any team I've ever seen in my life. I have never, you can't even make this up, how bad baseball injuries are. It never ceases to amaze me. All they do is stand around all day and scratch their onions and eat sunflower seeds. They swing a bat, they chase a fly ball, they catch it, they throw it into the cutoff man, and then they're on the IL for 2 months every year. I call it vacations is what it is, because they play for 7 months if you win it all, and guys go on the IL. It's when they have time off. They give them time off to do whatever they need to do, because no one can stay healthy in Major League Baseball. They got a massive problem with injuries in baseball. It's unbelievable to me. A guy runs down the first baseline, he's out a month. I mean, it really is. Like when you were in high school and you were watching kids play baseball, I never saw anyone get injured. The kids played every game the whole season. In college, they play the whole season, every game. And then they go pro and they spend half of their careers on the IL, and the other half, they spend a quarter of that having Tommy John surgery. I mean, I don't know why they send pitchers and catchers down here. All right, send the catcher because he doesn't matter anyway. Catchers are there to become managers. Jesus, I'm on a roll.
Catchers are there to become managers. They are the best managers. You have to be a catcher in order to be considered for a managerial position.
Do you agree with any of that? Do you agree with any of that?
I agree with the injury aspect of baseball has gotten a lot different over the last 20 years, 15 to 20 years. It's gotten a lot different. And I honestly think that a part of it is, and look, I know guys want to be bigger, stronger, faster, all those things. I get that. That's today. But do you ever remember guys in the 80s and 90s before the steroid stuff hard being as jacked up and in terms of muscle and in terms of lifting as guys are now? And what's the injuries that we see now in baseball that keep these guys out 6 weeks, 2 months? Core injuries, right? Muscle injuries, going back, all this stuff.
Oblique.
Because they're obliques. They are so ripped and great. Listen, God bless them. They're so ripped. But for this game, with how you're moving and swinging a baseball bat, I think you're more susceptible to getting those type of injuries. And I think that's why you've seen the increase.
I remember literally, I can go back to Willie Stargell and Dave Kingman. I can go back to the Cobra. I can go back to Bill Madlock. I think, Dave Parker, Willie Stargell, and Bill Madlock, in my opinion, Manny Sanguian, those guys played every day. Every day, Willie Stargell, that old man, was standing at first base, fatter than a ship. He was literally the size of a boat. He was so fat. But he played every day. And guys now are absolute wussies. I mean, they feel a tweak and they're out 2 weeks. They feel a twinge. They're out a month. I have never seen anything like it in my life. And I think you're right. They're too ripped, whatever. They want to be so fast. What I want to be as a baseball player is I want to be out there every day. I want to play every day. Like, it is so rare now to see a guy play 130, 140 games in Major League Baseball that it's like, it's an oddity. You can't even find guys that do it. because most of these guys, like look at Bryce Harper. He misses half the season every year. Every year he misses half the season. Look at Giancarlo Stanton. He misses half the season every year. Look at Aaron Judge. He misses half the season every other year. I mean, it is unbelievable to me how these guys can't stay on the field. There's something wrong with baseball in that no one can stay on the field and everyone's always injured. And I got to tell you, I've been hearing for years how great the Yankees medical trainers are and their medical staff. I think they're ass. I think they're absolute ass.
They're awful.
I think that old man's got to go. Every guy on the Yankees is injured more than God, and they never do anything about it. All they ever do is have their entire roster out for months at a time. At what point do you look at your team doctor and your team trainers and say, you suck at your job, you're fired? I mean, honestly, they are always injured. The Yankees missed more games last year, player games, than any team in baseball. I mean, they're embarrassing. And even Cole said it. Cole said it. He said, we get injured more than anybody. The whole team's injured. Well, Get rid of the trainer then and the doctor. I mean, what are they doing all day? Drinking? I mean, honestly.
Well, it's true. Cole did say that the Yankees as a group get injured too much. Cashman also said he expects Juan Soto to test free agency after the season. Well, that would be disappointing. If you gave up all that and you only had 1 year of Juan Soto, that would be very disappointing.
That's what they're going to get. That's what they're going to get.
Most likely. And Corey Kluber, whatever. Go get a coffee for the advisory role. I'll come back. I'll give you Dave Roberts on the other side because the Dodgers, man, they better win, right? All the money they spent on Ohtani and Yamamoto and this guy and that. They better
the money they're going to spend in 2060, right?
You know, well, money, they're not spending it all this year.
Yeah,
but
they're not spending any money this year. They're just winning.
Caravan came back. They did have a couple of transfers here. The reality is UConn is every bit as talented and dangerous as they were 1 year ago.
If there's a guy, Joe Ranieri, that for one game could take a bunch of cast-offs and steal a game, his name's Eric Spoelstra.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
Team that has a great point guard, a great big that can block shots, a team that can play defense, and seniors that can put the ball in the hole, that's who you bet on. You don't bet on freshmen. You don't bet on teams that don't play defense. There you go.
I mean, you got to run the guy over to call a foul in a tie game in that kind of a spot. That was a bad job by those refs.
Ferrall Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
I'm sort of starting to figure out where these Canadian guys play well, bro. Not Hawaii, not California. Give me a Canadian in Ohio, Cam. Give me a Canadian in Michigan. Give me a Canadian at the Waste Management.
Good old Charlie Hoffman, the representative of Waste Management, played the best tournament of his life in 8 years and lost in a playoff to the Canadian. It turned out to be like a wicked tournament. Shout out to Nick Taylor, gave BC's finest.
Sports Rage Late Night. Only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. Your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Ferrall Coast to Coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from three on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live, prime time.
We got not one, but two coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage Late
Sort of
Night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
BetMGM's giving away money. All you have to do is get the BetMGM app for the first time. Sign up, put $5 in your account, bet $5, standard odds on anything, and you're going to get $150 in bonus bets. Use the bonus code SG150, SG150. All you have to do is download the app at iOS or Android or BetMGM.com. You won't believe it. Bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets immediately after you place a bet for $5. I mean, honestly, it's the greatest thing that's ever happened. All right, we're still talking baseball at this point, and we're very excited.
We are very excited because baseball is back. I did want to give you a couple of things here as well. This kind of went with the Yankee stuff. Here's your odds to win the American League as we hit spring training. Astros, Yankees, Rangers, Orioles, Twins. Right now, Orioles also aren't going to have Kyle Bradish. He's going to miss the start of the season with the UCL sprain. You get tons of those now too, right? UCL sprains with the pitchers. I know we just went off with the injuries and we're going to go down the hole again, but they get tons of those now. The UCL sprains, it's just every other day these pitchers get those.
Yeah, I got to tell you, to me, it's still the Astros and Rangers. I'm not buying Aaron Boone. He's so full of shack, it's coming out his ears. They should have fired him already. I don't care either if it's Joe Girardi or Timbuktu. I can't stand him. I think he's phony. I don't think he's a good manager at all. I don't care that they think he's a PR whiz and he can handle the media. I, in fact, do not believe he handles the media at all. I think he's a loser. That's just all there is to it. Ever since he's been the manager, they've done nothing but lose.
Yeah, they have done absolutely nothing but lose. And I would take the Astros or the Rangers in a playoff series over the Yankees in a heartbeat if they ended up meeting each other right now. An absolute heartbeat. All right, next. Here's the Dodgers side of things, Scotty. As we know, they have reported in Arizona, and all eyes are on them because they have built this year's super team to go along with a team that had a great year last year but then lost to the Diamondbacks in the playoffs. They have added Ohtani. They have added Yamamoto. They have added Teoscar Hernandez. They've added a whole bunch of things. Here is Dave Roberts. Kind of like what Boone said, they got to prove it as well coming off of last year.
Everyone's different. I think Mookie certainly feels that responsibility as one of the best players in the game to perform at the highest level on the biggest of stages. So I think his words are his words. But I think for everyone, I think for me and for the 24 Dodgers, there's a lot of guys that weren't on this ball club the last couple of years. And so for them to have that burden, I don't think that makes any sense. I think for me, we've got something to prove. The 24 Dodgers haven't done anything. And so as we clearly know, you don't win on paper. And so I just think we haven't done anything. We got a lot to prove.
Okay, it's the Ohtani and Yamamoto show. They're going to win the West going away by 20 games. And it's the Braves and Phillies in the East. And one of those two will meet the Dodgers in the National League Championship Series. There are no other teams that matter in the National League at all, including the Mets, who everyone always bites into that apple, and it's always rotten.
Mets, they're not going to be good at all this year. I saw their win totals like 82 for the Mets coming into this year. The Dodgers are, of course, the favorites for the National League, as they should be with all the money that they have, all the guys that they now have. There you see you have the Braves, the Phillies, etc. right behind them. The Diamondbacks, the Cubbies are on there. You already laid it out in the National League. It's the Dodgers and whoever gets there between the Braves and the Phillies, but the Phillies, when the money's on the table, the Phillies beat the Braves every year, don't they? Every year when the money's on the table, Phillies beat them.
They do.
So
they do.
Braves got to get past that hurdle themselves. The Giants did sign Jorge Soler to a 3-year deal. Again, the Giants, they always want the biggest fish. Soler can hit. You know that. He's been good the last few years.
Sign Bellinger and Chapman, and then the Giants matter in the West.
Very good. That is true, if they could do that. Quickly, let me give you some of these. AL MVP. Judge and Soto are the favorites as we start the year. Welcome to Yankee Hour here. Watch this. Judge and Soto are the favorites for the AL MVP. You got Jordan there, Corey Seager, a couple of the Oriole guys. Here's the thing with Judge, Scotty. How many games is he playing this year?
Yeah, I don't have faith in his body. I'll take that Roshman kid in Baltimore. He's a badass.
Yeah. On the NL side, you have, of course, a lot of the particulars there as well. Ronald Acuna Jr., who won last year. You have Mookie Betts. There's Ohtani at 9-1. Remember, only hitting this year, Scotty. Not pitching this year. So only hitting.
I think that Betts, Ohtani, and Freeman will have the trifecta of season numbers-wise, and one of the three will win the MVP. And my guess it'll be Ohtani because that's what baseball wants to happen.
That is what baseball wants to happen. On the AL side of things, here's another Yankee. Yankees are favorites for every award. Garrett Cole did win it last year. He's the favorite again. But that also might be because look at these names here on this list. I mean, God, Kevin Gausman, Pablo Lopez, Kirby's Dreamland, Skubal. Not a lot of aces in the American League heading into this year.
I believe that no one from that list will win the Cy Young.
Ooh.
Not one guy. It'll be someone else entirely.
Out of nowhere pick. A little further down the board we could try to dig up. And on the NL side, as we start the year, at the top of the board there, you have Spencer Strider, Wheeler, Logan Webb. There's Yamamoto at 13-1. I don't think he'll win this year. I think that's a year of adjustment. He ain't going to come in here the first year and blow everybody away.
I think he will, and he'll win the Cy Young.
Wow, Yamamoto, 13-1. Go get it now.
Well, they're saying that that literally everyone and their brother is saying his stuff is absolutely dirty, filthy, unhittable.
And final thing, here's Rob Manfred telling everybody that he's not going to be commissioner anymore 5 years from now, and that he just this is enough for him until 2029.
Here we go.
I'm 65, okay? I just started a 5-year term. Do that math, right? That makes me 70 years old. You can only have so much fun in one lifetime. I have been open with them about the fact that this is going to be my last term. I said it to them before the election in July, and I'm absolutely committed to that. I'm sure the selection process is going to look like it looked the last time. There'll be a committee of owners that'll be put together.
Everyone loves committees.
They'll identify candidates, be a interview process, and ultimately someone or a slate of people will be put forward.
How about 2027? Do we have to wait till 29? Can we get him out now?
They'll get a lawyer in there, someone that can handle negotiations and contracts and television deals.
Let's get A-Rod in there.
Remember,
let's make A-Rod the commissioner.
I'm putting mine in early too, Carver High, as you know. 6 years. I'll be 65 and I'll be done and finished. Now, I told you there's people clamoring for me to go to 67. And I also already died once. So the question is the over-under. Will I make it to 65 or will I die between 60 and 65?
No. We don't believe that.
I'm not working until I'm 80 like everyone else in TV and radio that thinks they're so special.
Vern up on the 16th tower at the Masters at 83.
Christ, Vern's 104. He's sleeping with my mother-in-law.
Manfred also said he would like Major League Baseball to have a free agent frenzy-type signing period like the NFL and the NBA currently
He needs to speed up the game, Mike.
He needs to speed. Yeah, you got to cut that thing down more. You got it down to 2.5. We need everybody in and out of that stadium in under 2 hours. Like college basketball. You got to get in and out in 2 hours flat. We don't want to go any longer than that.
All right, 2 hours. I'll give you 2 hours.
Marlins have offered a deal to Tim Anderson. He should take it because no one else is offering him a deal. How about hockey before we leave?
Everybody loves hockey.
Everybody does love hockey. Nice job by the Bruins last night at home against Seattle.
Did you believe it?
4-1 at home. You got to be kidding me here. Flyers beat the Leafs 4-3 in overtime.
No, they lost.
Hat trick.
No, they lost in overtime.
Excuse me. Leafs beat the Flyers. My apologies.
They came back. They were down big, 4-1 or something. They came back and tied it and lost in overtime.
Matthews had the natural hat trick for the Leafs in the second period in that game. 4-3 overtime win for Toronto. Here's Tortorella. This was actually before the game, but I thought it was great. Talking about the young players in the NHL today. Now, this was also kind of based off of that Morgan Riley suspension for smashing the guy the other night after the slap shot. Here's Torts on today's young players.
It's a different league. It's a different league in. I'm going to be really careful how I say it. I think there is. It's a dumb league. It is. It's changed for coaches too, and we've had to make adjustments because there are so many mistakes made. And I guess the thing with the young athletes is sometimes you have to wait your turn, right? As far as gaining respect and not wanting everything right now, and not expecting everything right now, as far as ice time, as far as your contract, whatever it may be. Sometimes it's good just to wait your turn and earn it. I think that's where I think the athletes have changed. They have entourages around them that I think direct them the wrong way. And the hierarchy of a room, the hierarchy of what it is to be a pro, the process you have to go through as a pro, I think's lost a little bit.
Listen, that's the first time ever that I 100% agree with Torts. As you know, in the past, I've talked about beating his ass, that I don't like him, that I hate his guts more than anyone else, and I have turned the corner on him in his older age. He is making more sense to me. And I'll tell you this, I got a kid that is a really good basketball player, and she sits on the bench as a sophomore and as a freshman, and it drives her nuts because she's the leading scorer, and they just don't play her. And I said, this is the way the world works. Next year, you're going to get 29 minutes of burn out of 32. You can guarantee it because you lead the team in scoring. It's going to happen. You haven't earned anything. You're nobody. You're a sophomore. You're in diapers. I think it's the exact same thing he's talking about. All these guys want it now. They want it all now. And they want the money now. And they got their entourages. And I told you at the Super Bowl, I saw people with entourages at that media center. And it was really a grotesque embarrassment to our business. No one in their right mind that does television or radio needs to have 40 people following them around with makeup and food and mirrors and cameras and picture taking and PR people waving people off, security. It was the most embarrassing thing I've ever seen. People think they're so important and so wonderful. And at the end of the day, no one gives an F about anybody. Like, stop. Like, I saw these people that think they're so hot shack that I was going to puke. I've never in my life understood it. When you know someone's a god in broadcasting, okay? David Letterman walked in to do my show one day in New York City. That's when the world stops, when Dave Letterman walks in. But all these people think they're so wonderful now in this business, and you just aren't. You may make a lot of money, but you don't need 40 people following you around. You're a joke. You're a loser. I don't care what anybody says. I don't need anyone to walk me back to the hotel like I'm somebody special when I know I'm not, okay? And everyone at that NFL Super Bowl thinks they're hot shack, and it was the most embarrassing thing I've ever seen in my life. Not only that, I'm right, and I could name them, every one of them, and knock them down to their knees.
Came back. They did have a couple of transfers here. The reality is UConn is every bit as talented and dangerous as they were 1 year ago.
If there's a guy, Joe Ranieri, that for one game could take a bunch of cast-offs and steal a game, his name's Eric Spoelstra.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
team that has a great point guard, a great big that can block shots, a team that can play defense, and seniors that can put the ball in the hole, that's who you bet on. You don't bet on freshmen. You don't bet on teams that don't play defense. There you go.
I mean, you got to run the guy over to call a foul in a tie game in that kind of a spot. That was a bad job by those refs.
Ferrall Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
I'm sort of starting to figure out where these Canadian guys play well, bro. Not Hawaii, not California. Give me a Canadian in Ohio, Cam. Give me a Canadian in Michigan. Give me a Canadian at the Waste Management.
Good old Charlie Hoffman, the representative of Waste Management, played the best tournament of his life in 8 years and lost in a playoff to the Canadian. It turned out to be like a wicked tournament. Shout out to Nick Taylor, gave BC's finest.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. Your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Ferrall Coast to Coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from three on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live, prime time.
We got not one, but two coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage Late
sort
Night.
of has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, Carolina's in Arizona tonight at the college rink in Tempe. I'm going to take Carolina, lay the goal and a half, and I'm going to bet the under 6 goals. And I got it at minus $1.03 this morning. 2 juveniles face gun charges and resisting arrest after the Chiefs parade shooting. I think they should convict them as adults, and I think they should face first-degree murder charges for the death of the DJ in Kansas City. And I think both of them should serve at least 20 years. You show up at a parade and start shooting everybody and little kids, you deserve to go to jail for 20 years. I don't care how old you are. Juveniles. There's no such word anymore. There's no such thing. Juveniles with guns are just stupid idiots. That's what they are. They need to put them away. I don't care what their moms and dads and uncles and cousins think. Put both of them in jail for 20 years and see what that does for them. Prosecutors dropped domestic violence charge against Milan Lucic. Apparently, he didn't beat up his wife after all. LSU running back Trey Holly facing charges of attempted second-degree murder. Looks like his career is at a standstill. Tennessee bill pushes to ban the sale of cold beer in the state. They think this will eliminate DUIs by serving people warm beer. Here's a thought. People drink whiskey and rum and tequila now. Who needs beer to get a buzz? Bears legend Steve McMichael, otherwise known as Mongo, has been hospitalized with a urinary tract infection. He has ACL. This guy, I saw the piece on him on ESPN. He's literally dead in a bed with ACL. It's the most awful thing I've ever seen in my life. He was an absolute savage monster. He got into the Hall of Fame this year. He's getting into the Hall of Fame. Many people believe he won't make it to the ceremony. That's how sick he is. I was devastated when I saw Steve McMichael. I used to love Mongo. Former wrestling star Billy Jack Haynes arrested after police standoff. Wife found dead in their home. Your boy, Billy Jack, getting involved. Tennessee couple catches a stranger kick in the front door and take a shower in their home on their security app. Guy breaks in and takes a shower, starts eating food. GTD is next. Go to FerrallOnTheBench.com for action. I'll see you tomorrow at noon with Coach on In-Game Live All Access. Have a great weekend, everybody.